Okay, so I just had a coaching member ask me this awesome question. She said, how do you set goals when all of your adult life you've been basically doing stuff for other people? She's a parent, got, I don't know, 4 or 5 children. It's like my whole life has been consumed with doing stuff for other people. And now I'm trying to do this goal setting, go through this goal setting process and set goals and being clear about what do I want for me. And it's like, how do you do that? And so, oh, by the way, this was a Valentine's gift I got from the love of my life, for my wife. Isn't that cool? I think it's cute. I just hold it in my hand. I didn't even think about it. And so how do you set goals when you spent most of your life, or when you have a hard time setting goals? You're like, the way I really think is, what does everybody else in my life need? So, if you're setting your goals and go like, well, my goal is to pay my kids way through college, or get my kid a new car, or whatever, or your goal, if you set your goals in terms of someone else. Now, here's what you need to understand. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story about myself that's not pretty, but it's true, and it's just reality. And I think all of us need to sometimes come to grips with what motivates us in our life. So I want to make a few disclaimers first. Number one, when you have other responsibilities and relationships in your life that matter to you, you make sacrifices for other people. That's part of life. People and relationships are the most important, valuable, and precious thing in your life. So it's totally appropriate and totally right to make sacrifices, to make adjustments, to change, to compromise. All of that is appropriate in relationships, because at the end of your life, it will be the relationships that you have that will give you the greatest peace and the greatest joy and the least regret, as opposed to because you didn't focus on what something that you wanted to have or something that you wanted to do. So I want to just preface all of this by saying this in no way is to minimize or downplay the importance of other people. So, but here's the thing: you got to be true to yourself. And whenever we get in this thing of being this, what can happen is we get this self-sacrificial attitude. And that's what I think I struggled with and I lived with for years, was that I was so busy trying to please everybody and so busy trying to do things for everybody. And I became almost it was almost like a martyr. I almost became like proud of how I sacrificed everything I wanted to that everybody else could have what they wanted, for my family, for my kids, and so forth. And in doing that, I was spending too much of my time trying to please everyone else. And in doing that, I found myself lost first. I lost myself, and second, out of that became misery, because there was a lack of self-awareness and a lack of telling the truth to myself. And a little over 3 years ago, I wrote what I call my own personal code of conduct. And my personal code of conduct was very weird for me because it was very self-centered. And by that, I just mean it was like, love yourself, know yourself, tell yourself the truth, trust yourself, grow yourself, be yourself, enjoy yourself. These were some of the things that I put in my personal code of conduct. And the reason that I had to do that was because I had spent so much of my life not doing that, not being honest with myself, not telling myself the truth, not loving myself and saying, you know what, I want to do this. I love doing stuff for other people, sacrificing for others, but there are things that if I want. So when it comes to setting goals, the things that tend to motivate us tend to be internal drives. And it's great to do stuff for other people, but there's also this sense in which you owe it to yourself, and it is required that you serve yourself, that you take care of yourself. Now, I'm a Christian, and so I was always taught, love your neighbor as yourself. Well, what that implies is that you can't love other people, you can't love your neighbor more than you love yourself. If you don't love you, if you're not taking care of you, you're not going to be very good at taking care of other people. So this idea of sacrificing, while it's right, and I love the idea of making sacrifices for other people and for things that you can do for other people, is totally right. There is a point where you also have to sacrifice for yourself. Say, I've got to take care of me. And part of that is just the joy in your life. And it's not inappropriate. There is enough abundance in this world that you can sacrifice for others. You can do things for other people, and you can still take time for yourself. You can still have goals for yourself and things. This is something I want to do for me. And I want my family to enjoy it. I hope that people will come along and enjoy me for the ride and all of that. I'm not going to disregard my relationships. I'm not going to tell them, well, if you don't like it, tough. I'm going to be respectful. I'm going to prioritize, but don't be afraid to set your expectations high for yourself. Don't be afraid to say, this is what I want my life to look like. I want to do this. This is one of my goals. I've sacrificed so many of my desires for so much of my life that I found myself resenting not only other people, but resenting me, resenting like, why do I do that to myself? And I am worthy of having some of the things that I want to do, some of the things I want to have. I'm totally worthy of that, and you are too. And you've got to be okay with that and realize it's not either or. It's not either I've got to love other people and sacrifice for others, or I got to go be totally self-centered and selfish. You can have both. You can love your neighbor or your spouse or your children or your parents or anybody else, and at the same time you can love yourself. And my contention is the more you love yourself and the more you do for yourself, the more abundance you will have, the more full you are to serve others. There was, I think it was William Shakespeare who wrote, first to yourself you must, as this, I'm going to do it in today's English, but to yourself you must be true first. And if you are true to yourself, then you can't be false to anyone else. But you owe it to yourself to be true to yourself. What do you want? What do you want your life to look like? Go for it. Design it. There's abundance. And then you can do that and still have plenty to do everything. In fact, have a greater ability to have a greater impact in serving other people.